My cousin Camille spent 4 years humiliating every family member, and even went after my dad a month after he lost his job. So I humiliated her back in the best way possible, leading her to expose every family secret. Camille had been hosting Sunday dinners once a month since she got married. Huge house, catered food, wine you would not have picked up yourself. Everyone went because nobody else wanted to host, and saying no felt rude. The catch was that every dinner had a target. Camille would wait until the salads came out and then she would start. Slow, gentle, with that soft, worried voice she had spent years perfecting. So my brother, have you thought any more about going back to school? Working at the shop is fine for now, but at some point you want to be building something real. The whole table would go quiet. My brother would stare at his plate. Camille would nod like she had done him a favor and move on. Next month it would be my aunt, asking about the new diet her trainer recommended. The month after, my uncle, a long, thoughtful question about whether his divorce had really been the right call. Then my mom, about her apartment situation. Then me, about my dating life. Then me again, about my job. Then me a third time, asking if I had considered therapy. Always the same script. Soft voice, concerned face. I just worry about you. I'm only saying this because I love you. Every single person at the table knew exactly what was happening and tolerated it because Camille hosted. Then one Sunday in April, my dad got laid off after 26 years at the same company. He was 61. 3 weeks later, Camille hosted again. My dad came because my mom asked him to. He sat at the end of the table looking like he had not slept in a month. Camille waited until the second course. So uncle, have you considered that maybe this is the universe telling you it was time? Sometimes when we hang on to a job too long, it becomes a kind of crutch. My dad did not say anything. He just looked at his plate. My mom reached over and touched his hand. Camille took a satisfied sip of her wine and turned to ask another cousin about wedding planning. I did not say anything that night. I drove home thinking. The next dinner, I sat in my usual seat. Camille started on my aunt around the salad course. Right as my aunt's face started to fall, I leaned forward and said, in the warmest voice I could manage, "Oh my gosh, Camille, that reminds me of the funniest memory. Do you remember when we were 14 and you got caught at the mall taking that lip gloss, and your mom had to drive down to pick you up? I always thought it was so brave of you. Most kids would have lied. You owned it." The table went still. Then my aunt laughed. A real laugh. The first one I had heard from her at one of these dinners in years. Camille's face did something I had never seen it do. She smiled tightly and said it was a long time ago. The conversation moved on. The aunt critique never finished. The next month I came back. Camille started on my brother again. I waited until she paused for breath and said, "Oh Camille, this is random, but I was just thinking about that time at Grandma's funeral, when you locked yourself in the bathroom for an hour because Grandma left her ring to me in the will. You were so vulnerable that day. It was such a real moment for you." My uncle made a small sound into his glass. My brother looked up from his plate for the first time in 20 minutes. The brother critique never finished. By the fourth dinner, the rest of the family had picked up the rhythm. My aunt brought up a fond memory of Camille proposing to her husband 3 times before he said yes. My uncle, halfway through the main course, lit up. "Camille, that summer you tried to start that candle business, and your dad had to bail you out for the inventory loan. You were so determined." My mom mentioned the time Camille had told everyone she was pregnant and then stopped mentioning it 3 months later. Camille's husband had stopped eating about 10 minutes in. He kept turning to look at her with the expression of a man hearing a lot of brand new information about the woman he married. Camille looked devastated. What none of us realized was that she had been quietly taking notes the entire dinner, on a phone she held under the table. And by the next morning, she had already mapped exactly who at that table had a secret bigger than any of hers. 2 weeks went by. I thought maybe it was over. I was wrong. The first call came from Jay on a Tuesday afternoon. He sounded like someone had knocked the wind out of him. Before I could say hello, he said, she screenshotted it, a conversation I had with her 3 years ago, texted it to me. Jay told me that back when he first started working at the shop, he had gone to Camille after a bad day and told her everything. How he hated it, how he felt stuck, how the only reason he stayed was because the guy who owned the place was our dad's oldest friend, and quitting would feel like spitting in Rex's face. He had told her all this in private, over text. Jay's voice was tight. She said she is going to bring it up at the next dinner, in front of everyone, in front of the guy who owns the shop. I sat on my living room floor and felt something cold settle in my chest. Jay said Camille had added a note at the end of the screenshot. "I think it would be healthy for you to be open about how you really feel." Same script, same fake concern, this time with proof attached. I told Jay I would figure it out. I did not know yet if that was true. Then I called Maya. She picked up on the first ring like she had been waiting. Her voice was shaky. She said Camille had sent her a long message that morning, bringing up the hospital visit. 2 years ago, Maya had gone through something medical that she kept completely private. She had only told Camille, because Camille had called her during that time and been so warm and supportive and safe. Maya said, "She told me if I come to the next dinner, she is going to ask me about it in front of the whole family. She said it would be good for me to be honest." I could hear Maya trying to hold herself together. I told her I was sorry. That same evening, Wolfgang called. He did not wait. "Your cousin left me a voicemail. He told me Camille had called and left a message about his divorce. Not the surface stuff everyone knew, but something deeper. Why it really ended." Wolfgang said, "I never told her anything. She must have talked to my ex." His voice was flat, the voice of a man who had spent years putting something behind him, and just found out someone had dug it back up. That was when I understood Camille had not just been collecting secrets at the dinner table. She had been collecting them everywhere, for years. Private conversations, text messages, other people's other people. The dinners were just the stage. The research happened behind the scenes, with everyone's guard down because Camille was so good at making you feel like she cared. I had one more call to make. I called my mom. Evelyn picked up and I could tell from how she said hello that she already knew why I was calling. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "She called me yesterday. She asked if your father knew about the loan I took out when he was between jobs 10 years ago. I paid it back, every cent. But your father does not know I took it." I closed my eyes. 10 years ago, when Rex had been between jobs for a few months, my mom had quietly taken out a loan to cover things. She had paid every penny back on her own. She had never told my dad because she did not want him to feel like he had failed the family. And now Camille had it. She was going to use it to blow a hole in my parents' marriage at a dinner table in front of everyone. That was when I understood the full picture. Camille was not trying to embarrass people. She was trying to break things. Relationships that had taken decades to build. The kind of damage that could not be undone. I did not sleep that night. I sat on my couch and called every single one of them again. Jay first, then Maya, then Wolfgang, then Evelyn. I said the same thing to each. She is counting on us being too scared to show up. If nobody goes, she wins. She holds this over us forever. Jay was the easiest. I am not letting her hold a text message over my head for the rest of my life. I will be there. Maya took longer. She asked if showing up was better than walking away. I told her walking away meant Camille still had the power. Every holiday, every birthday, every family event for the rest of our lives, Camille sitting on a pile of secrets she could use whenever she wanted. Maya finally said, "Okay, I will go." Wolfgang said, I was going anyway. She does not scare me. Evelyn was hardest. She was quiet through most of what I said. Then she asked what the plan was. I told her I did not have one yet. She sighed. All right, but I am not letting that girl talk to your father. Not again. I told her I understood. 3 days before the dinner, I drove to my parents' house. Rex was on the front porch in the old chair he had been sitting in since I was a kid. He looked tired, but a different kind of tired than the last time I had seen him. Less hollow. My mom had mentioned he had started picking up small contracting jobs through a friend. Nothing major, but enough to keep him moving. I sat next to him and for a while we did not talk. After a few minutes I said, Dad, if Camille comes after you again at the next dinner, how would you feel about that? He did not answer right away. He picked up his coffee, took a sip, set it down. I have been embarrassed by worse than a 30-year-old with a catering budget. I will be fine. I almost laughed. I wanted to tell him everything. About the calls, Maya's hospital visit, Wolfgang's voicemail, what Camille had on Evelyn. But I looked at his face and saw a man who was just starting to get a little of his footing back, and I could not put the weight of everyone else's secrets on top of his. So I just said, okay, Dad. The next day, I met Jay at a diner near his apartment. Sticky menus, burnt coffee. I told him where things stood. Everyone was coming, but I had no plan for what Camille was going to do once the food hit the table. Jay stirred his coffee. Then he said, Camille never brings up anything about herself. She only brings up other people. Every single dinner she steers. She picks the topic. She picks the target. What if we do not let her steer? What if, before she can start, we just start talking? Not about her. About us. Our own stuff. If we own it first, she has got nothing. The logic was clean. If Camille's power came from revealing things people were ashamed of, then taking the shame out took her weapon. If Jay stood up and said I do not love working at the shop, then Camille pulling out a screenshot of him saying the same thing 3 years ago meant nothing. You cannot embarrass someone with a truth they already told, but owning your secrets meant saying them out loud, at a table, in front of family, in front of people who might judge you or pity you or look at you differently. Jay could tell I was weighing it. Look, I know it is scary, but what is the other option? We sit there and let her read off her little list and just take it? He was right. That afternoon, I called Maya first. I explained the logic. If you say it yourself, you control it. If Camille says it, she controls it. Maya was quiet for a long time. Then she said, if I say it myself, at least I control how it sounds. Her voice was small but firm. I told her she could say as much or as little as she wanted. I called Wolfgang. I got halfway through pitching it and he cut me off. I would rather tell my own story than let Camille tell it for me. No hesitation. The last call was hardest. I called Evelyn around 9. I explained Jay's plan. We go in. We speak first. We own our stuff before Camille can use it against us. Evelyn was quiet so long I pulled the phone away to check if the call had dropped. Then she said, I will tell your father about the loan before the dinner. He deserves to hear it from me, not from Camille, not at a table. I felt two things at the same time. Relief, because my mom was going to do the brave thing on her own terms. And guilt, because I had known for days and had not told her soon enough. She was going to have one of the hardest conversations of her marriage 3 days before walking into a dinner designed to tear her apart. I told her I was sorry. She said, you did not take out the loan, and you did not make Camille the way she is. Stop apologizing. The night before the dinner I was going over everything in my head. Who would say what order, whether I should go first. My phone buzzed. Unknown number, no message, just a photo. A picture of a piece of paper. Handwritten notes. Blurry, like whoever took the photo did it fast and with shaking hands. Down the left side was a column of names. Our names. Jay, Maya, Wolfgang, Evelyn, Rex, mine. Down the right side, next to each name, was a note. Short, a few words each. Enough to know this was Camille's list. Her plan. Every secret organized by person. Ready to be used. At the bottom, in different handwriting, someone had written 5 words. She has one about you too. I did not recognize the handwriting. I did not know who sent it, but I knew 2 things. The list was real, and whoever sent it wanted me to see it before tomorrow. Sunday I drove to Camille's house with my hands tight on the wheel and my heart in my throat. I turned onto her street and the first thing I saw was the driveway. Jay's car. Maya's at the curb. Wolfgang's truck. My parents' car with the dent in the back bumper. Rex never got fixed. Everyone came. I parked across the street. Then I noticed Clifford's car in the garage, door halfway up, and something about seeing it made the whole thing feel more real. I walked in the way I always did. Candles on the hallway table, long dining table set with the nice plates and cloth napkins, the catered food already plated, rosemary, warm bread, expensive candles. Camille was at the head of the table. White dress, hair done, makeup perfect. She hugged me, hand pressed flat against my back. 2 seconds too long. I am so glad you came. I was worried people might not show up tonight. Sweet, warm, controlled. The voice she used right before she picked someone apart. Everyone was at the table. Jay between Maya and an empty chair. Wolfgang across, arms folded. Evelyn and Rex near the far end. Rex steady. Evelyn looking like she had not slept, but sitting up straight, her hand on his arm. Clifford next to Camille's chair. He nodded at me but did not speak. Salads came out. Camille settled in. Her eyes moved around the table, slow, like reading a menu, choosing. She opened her mouth. Jay cleared his throat. Not loud, not dramatic, just enough to pull the room's attention before Camille could start. He put his fork down. So I have been thinking a lot lately. I have been at the shop for 6 years. I have been too scared to admit I want to do something else. I do not know what yet, but I am figuring it out. The table went quiet. Not the bad kind, a different kind. Rex looked at Jay. He did not speak, just looked at him. Something moving behind his eyes, surprise and pride and a little sadness. The sadness a father feels when he realizes his kid has been carrying something heavy and never said a word. Maya put her hand on Jay's arm. Jay did not look down. He did not look away. I glanced at Camille. Her smile flickered, like a light with a loose connection. Then Maya spoke. She did not wait for a prompt. She told the table that 2 years ago she had gone through something medical. She did not give every detail. She said she had kept it private because she was ashamed, and that she had spent 2 years carrying that shame like it was something she deserved, and that she was done. Her voice cracked once, but she kept going. When she finished, Wolfgang nodded. Real, not polite. My divorce was my fault. I was not a good husband. I have been working on that. Plain and direct, the way Wolfgang says everything. But I could see his jaw tight. Camille had not touched her wine. Her hand was on the glass, but it had not moved. Her eyes went from Jay to Maya to Wolfgang and back, calculating, trying to find the crack she could get into. She kept looking at Clifford. He was watching everyone with an expression I could not read. Then Evelyn spoke. My mom turned in her chair and looked directly at Rex. Not at the table, not at the room, at him. 10 years ago, when things were tight, I took out a small loan without telling you. I paid it back. I should have told you then. I am telling you now. The room held its breath. Rex looked at her. For a long time. Long enough that I could feel my own pulse in my ears. Then he reached over and took her hand. Okay, just that. One word. Evelyn's eyes filled, but she did not cry. She blinked and squeezed his hand back. Camille set her glass down. The sound was sharp against the table. The sweetness was gone. This is very touching, really. But since we are all being so honest tonight, I think it is only fair I share a few things too. She picked up her phone. The notes app was open. Lines of text, organized and ready. She looked directly at me. Let us start with you. She read it out, clear and steady, like she had been practicing. Did everyone know our sweet little planner over here did not actually leave her last job on her own terms? She was fired. For missing deadlines and lying about it to her manager. Fired. The heat hit my face. Every person at the table turned and looked at me. The worst part was that it was true. All of it. I had been fired. I had missed deadlines. I had lied to my manager about where things stood and when they would be done, and eventually it caught up the way those things always do. When it happened, I told everyone, my parents, Jay, Maya, that I had decided to move on, that it was my choice. I lied because I was embarrassed and because saying I got fired felt like saying I failed. I took a breath, shaky and thin. That is true. I was fired. I lied about it because I was embarrassed. I should not have lied. Camille blinked. That tiny pause where her face reset because whatever she had expected me to do, it was not that. She expected me to argue, to deny it, to get defensive so she could push harder. She did not expect me to just say it. She recovered fast. She always did. She scrolled down and turned to Rex. And since we are being honest, Rex, did you know the real reason you were let go was because 3 people in your department filed complaints about you being difficult to work with? Rex went still, not frozen, just still, the way a man gets when something hits him in a place he thought he had protected. Evelyn's hand tightened on his so hard her knuckles went white. Rex looked at Camille, not with anger, not with shame, but with something tired and old. He looked at her for a long time, then he said very quietly, I know, they told me when they let me go. I have been carrying that. His voice cracked on the last word, like a board that has been holding too much weight too long. My hands were shaking under the table. Camille did not stop. She scrolled and started reading something about Wolfgang, but before she could get 3 words out, Wolfgang held up his hand. I already said mine. You do not get to say it for me. Not loud. It did not need to be. Camille's composure started to slip. Her thumb scrolled faster, looking for something that would land. She turned to Jay. And Jay, did everyone know you applied to 3 colleges last year and got rejected from all of them? Jay's face went red, deep red. He had not shared that. The room was quiet. Jay swallowed. No, I did not tell anyone that. But yeah, I applied. I got rejected. I am going to apply again. Maya put her hand back on Jay's arm. Same spot. Same quiet touch. Camille was losing it. Every secret she threw, they caught and set it down like it was nothing. Not because it did not hurt. I could see it hurting. But because they had already decided being hurt in the open was better than being controlled in the dark. Camille stood up. Her chair pushed back hard. Her voice was louder, raw. You all act like you are so brave. You are not brave. You are doing this to humiliate me. This entire thing was planned. She planned it. She pointed at me. She turned all of you against me. I have done nothing but host you, feed you, open my home to you, and this is what I get. I opened my mouth, but before I could say anything, Clifford spoke. For the first time all night. Camille, sit down. Camille turned to him. Excuse me? Clifford's voice was steady but tight. I said sit down. I have been sitting at this table for 4 years listening to you tear apart every person in your family. I thought it was just how your family talked. I told myself it was not that bad. But tonight I watched every single one of them stand up and tell the truth about themselves, and you are still sitting there with a list on your phone trying to hurt them with it. Camille stared. Her lip trembled. You do not understand. They were attacking me. They started it last month. Clifford shook his head. I went back and listened to the recordings you made of the last 3 dinners, the ones on your laptop. I heard what you said to your uncle about his divorce. I heard what you said to Rex 3 weeks after he lost his job. Nobody attacked you, Camille. You attacked them. Every single time. The table was silent. The kind where nobody breathes. Camille looked around. Nobody spoke. Nobody defended her. She looked at Clifford. You went through my laptop? Clifford said. You were recording your own family without their knowledge. You had folders, labeled by name, with notes on what to say and when to say it. Camille's face drained. All the color, all the composure, gone. The room understood all at once. The dinners were never casual. They were never just family over good food. They were planned. Every single one. Every target chosen ahead of time. Every soft concerned question rehearsed. Every humiliation scripted. Camille grabbed her phone and her bag and walked out without another word. The front door opened. Then it closed. Nobody followed her. Camille did not host again. The family started rotating. She was not invited back.